So here I have her now. I'm trying to send her off to her last journey, or the next one as it will. So it's a bit sticky, so you can see here, let me see if I can get an angle. You can see here her broken beak, right, and she's been managing pretty well to just eat with her tongue and the top beak. But as we got the other chickens, and as they started to accelerate growth, they were really outpacing her dramatically when it came to the ability to consume food, and we just didn't spot it early enough. She was fine for a long time, and then all of a sudden there was this breakdown, and even though I tried to force feed her, so to speak, with a syringe of blended food and give her water multiple times a day, and I had hoped that she would be able to recover, but she was weighing only 340 grams that one morning before she died, and you know, her body functions were all still okay, but it just didn't happen for her. So let's say goodbye to Rice Cake. The flies are already over her. Take care. You gave me lots of joy. We had lots of fun. I'll see you. Right, so that's the compost activator. Right, we do have a bunch of other things here, and just out of respect, I'll put a little bit on top of her first, and before I throw things, you know, some other more gross things into it, potentially. So this compost isn't overly mature, because you know, it's a difficult time of the year for me here to keep the compost going, but you can already see the darkness in it, and inside of this, you know, in the centerpiece, is just not on the outside, so it's still doing a lot of good composting. It's preparation for, you know, the next new beds coming. And what I do here, even though sometimes it can be problematic because the material isn't the best, I do compost our cat litter. Right, it is compostable with regards to what it's made out of. So this particular one here is made out of waste paper, effectively, and this one here is more of like a wood chip thing. We've been trialing different ones. They do disappear over time, and in a hot compost they work all right. Here's some coffee grounds that I'll be using also to, you know, keep boosting this, even though I should still be having all the necessary bacteria and fungi going in here, and all I'm really doing is I'm stretching this compost, and I'm adding more materials that I just have anyway. In some cases they need to go, like the cat litter, because the 5 cats that we have produce quite a substantial amount, and the other things I'm just adding in the hopes that there's still some sort of a benefit of me doing that for the overall process. But effectively we don't need this compost to be ready right now. It's also why I have been neglecting it a little bit with regards to the exact regularity of turning and watering and also, you know, the ingredients. I have been regretting it at some point, because, you know, then there were some beds that were failing and I redid them, and then I didn't have any compost ready. So the lesson learned actually is, if you can, always try to produce as much soil or compost as possible, having it readily available at any time. Of course, what you can and can't do at which time depends a bit on the materials that you have available, and obviously that's different in different times of the growing season. Right now it's very dry here, so we do not tend to have a huge amount of organic waste that we can compost that's just, you know, grass cuttings, or I mean, there's not a lot of grass growing here, like really grass growing here. Of course, grass grows pretty much everywhere, which also has led to quite a lot of frustration. But I've started to adjust and just be grateful for whatever is there and whatever is growing, and trying to use that to turn it into something useful for the projects that I'm having. So okay, I don't have a perfect hot compost, fine, but I have compost, and you know, it is composted. I can't shred the dry materials to a level that I would like to for it to be able to compost quickly. So when I use it, sometimes I have still quite big chunks in there, and I'm a bit of a perfectionist, so you know, I would love that to be different, and someday it will. Someday I'll be having the ability to shred down the dry materials, accelerate the process. You know, these types of chunks here, like this, I think it's from a, we do have some pretty sturdy things growing here sometimes. I think that was from a wild mustard that grew here, and some of them I had ripped out and others I had just cut off. These types of roots I will be finding for quite a while in my compost before they really disappear, and that's primarily because, you know, it's not enough surface area for the bacteria, or you know, whoever is really doing the work here, to do it properly. But it's still composting, right? I mean, in the zombie apocalypse, we're not always going to have available what we could under different conditions. So we need to work with what we have, and if things take longer, then, you know, in the best case laboratory scenario, things will always take longer than in a laboratory scenario, but we still got to do them and make the best out of what we have. And that's really, you know, one of the painful lessons of this year one was, and still is, because, you know, I'm still a perfectionist. That doesn't go away. It's still you know, inherently me, that I would love for things to be more efficient than what they are. But it's to just accept that, you know, you've got what you got, and you got to do the best of what you can with those resources, and just work with that. And can't help it. It is what it is. Right. I would just be finishing this compost and sending rice cake off, and then I'll see you another time trying to survive this thing. No zombies yet, but they will come, I'm pretty sure.